Okay, guys. So I've gone back to Tuesday of this past week here. Let's see, where am I? It's a little after 10 o'clock here. Tuesday morning here. I've got crude here, and same layout here where I've got a 60, a 15, and a 1 minute in this case over here. So let's see. I'll push that up so it doesn't take up screen space here. So as we sit here now, IB is established. We're retracing here. Look what we've just done, right? We just tagged the 200 EMA. Right? So all three are in sync here. All downtrends in all three. Now, of course, throughout the course of the day, particularly on the 1 minute, we can go uptrend, downtrend. You can see we were in an uptrend here. Now we're in a downtrend. Now we're retracing that. So as we are approaching here, this would be an area of interest. Now let me pop this up here. So acknowledging that we are in sync with all three trends. Now note here, this is all wick, right? So I've got a doji, but then this is all part of that up before. So this is the demand zone here. If I flesh it out fully, so here's how I would draw it. I would use the low to the high. Right, so again, because I want more than just wick, so I would draw it this way. So as I sit here right now, so a couple things. If you'll recall back to the idea in the early videos of going from discount to premium. So we're across the 50, so we're into the premium zone here. I'm into a supply zone here. You'll also note here over at the side, I'm at the 618, so that's the, not to digress again, but you'll note here, so we're coming right up to the golden zone of the internal swing from IB high to low. So this would be an area of interest for a potential short. I've at supply zone. I'm in sync with all three trends. So this would be a trade to consider. Now, ideally, we want to get them on the other side of the 50% here if you can get that, but you got to be mindful of, okay, I mean, are you going to squabble over a tick or two? Right, some will, right? They might sit with a limit order just on the other side of the 50%. That's a little bit of trader's discretion as to how precise you want to try and be there. But let me go ahead and just, what have I got this? That's probably too fast at 100. Let's take it, let's go to a 20 here and see how we do with this. So this would certainly be an area of interest. Right, so let's play it here at 20 speed and see how we do here. I'm trying to give you some more practical examples. So now that might have panicked you a little bit. So as the market came back to it, what happened? Well, as we went up, down, we left behind it, here if you can see it, we left behind another supply zone. Now that would be even bigger. So if this is kind of, you start to see why I prefer to draw them myself. Because if I draw the second one in there, right, so that's going to look, where's my wick, is right here. So you see the size of this up bar. All right, so I've got all of that. Right, so I've got a zone within a zone. But what that's doing is perhaps suggesting with a little more conviction that this is now particularly an area of interest. Again, look at where the 200 EMA is. So that was so fast, right? If you were in here looking to sell, it depends on whether, again, limit or market. Well, it's already moved 36 ticks, right? Just from the initial pop here. I should probably slow that down. It went so fast. Down, up. Now we create another supply zone here. Now let's just play it forward here, because this is kind of the reality. Now look what just happened here. So we've come down, we've broken down here. We get a change of character here, because change of character will acknowledge with a wick break, unlike a break of structure where it has to be a close above. But you'll note here we also have the 50 in the golden zone here from the other side. Of course, right? There's always an algo on the other side, so we have the exact same thing happening here. So we get to the 50 of the golden zone on this side, we get 50 of the golden zone on this side, and this is very common, particularly on the 1 minute. You see this all day long, right? It's a battle between the bullish algo and the bearish algo, right? And they just battle it out all day long. And often you'll see the market ping back and forth from one golden zone to the next, right? As those algos battle it out. Particularly, it's pervasive on the 1 minute. You see it all day long. So what gives you the conviction to be a seller here and not a buyer? Because I've got a swing retrace, right? So we know a buy side algo fired there. It's got a target up here. What gives you the conviction to be the seller here, or to stay short, or these just the reality we deal with here? Well, again, okay, where's the 200, right? I'm below the 200. What's the trend on the 60? What's the trend on the 15? What's my trend structure here? So the opportunity to be a seller here, again, this is, if you're a scalper, you're probably in and out, right? 36 ticks, and pretty good scalp. Oh, let's just play a little bit further. You might be looking, now again, you've got this very large zone here. We'll see if this starts to come back. So at this moment in time, well, you got two choices. Well, if you're trading multiples, perhaps you're would be common to have a scalp and maybe a runner or combinations thereof. So your scalps are probably out. So if you're at worst case here, your scalps are out, and now you perhaps reduce the risk of your runner. Maybe you're at break even, but or just reduce the risk a little bit. So as that comes back, well, now you got to deal with a question here. So the first question is, do I want to be a seller again? So you see we pop back into it. Do I want to be a seller again? So perhaps maybe you missed it and you were just waiting for more confirmation. Well, you'll note we've had one trip up, another trip down, and we're coming back again. So this is getting tested repeatedly. Again, right? Everything's in sync. Right? So if you missed the first time, right, this might be another time to take it. See how we do here, and then you get another short-term reaction. So that right there, again, what do we got there? Again, if you're a scalper, well, you've already got 23 ticks. So maybe your first, common target might be 6 to 10 on the scalps, and then you're looking for some run. If you get it here, of course you're not going to get it all the time, but might be something to be watching for. And of course you want to be mindful of the fact that we have a golden zone and a 50 down here just to play that forward. So there's that would have at that moment in time. So there's a good example. All right. So if you were down here, we had a couple of $300 swings. But now, if you were sitting with a runner with a stop at break even, you're out. Now, what do? We go right to the next. We got right to the next supply zone here, where it's going to. Certainly, this would be something to consider. If you got the scalp here and then your runner got out at scratch. Now, do you want to sell it again? Well, again, that's trader's choice. You are at a golden zone here. You'd want to be mindful of that. I'd be checking. Okay, any change of trend? Still down. Still down. So that becomes just a question mark in your own mind as to whether, well, this has been hit a couple of times. Do I want to go again? Or, well, let's see. Let me be sure that you're mindful of this, right? So if we look here, right, we've got a 50 here that's got a target up here, right? So again, we're battling back and forth between a pair of algos. Now, we have a tick that's broken the 65, but we don't have a close through it. Let's see what we get here. If this is going to hold here, so that would be, there's a wick that goes through. Well, you might be considering here. You've got wicks only here. Again, you've got an algo here with a tie. Now, so stop right there. So do you see this algo just got its target right here? So do you want to be considering a short here? Well, again, hitting an algo target is not a sell signal, but we are certainly at an area of interest in that this algo has completed, right? So it's got its target. Now it could keep going, right? There'd be second targets up there, but you are certainly now in the premium because now we're at the 786, 887, right? From the swing low to the swing high. Do I want to be a seller here? Well, okay. First, note what's just happened on the 1 minute. The 200 EMA has gone green here. We are still down in the larger time frames here. So I'll just play this forward here, and we get. Let me take that off now, as we acknowledge here that that buy side algo has just hit its target. Do you want to be a seller here? Well, if you were aggressive, that might have been another scalp to look for, right? You got to be quick on these. So why? Because why is the zone still there? Because there's not been a close above. So just for a scalper. And of course, these are moving really quick, right? There's another 23 ticks. You got a demand zone down here left behind by that push, right? So if I draw that, let's just draw it up here, right? So this would be an easier one, right, to spot because I've got this last little down push before the up move that gives me the change of character. Oh, I can't even remember what happens here. Let's let this play out. Where are we at? We're at 10-12 here. And now we're getting a lot of wicks through, so that would be, somewhat disconcerting if you were looking on the short side, but it's still, you're getting reaction there. And we're back again. Now, I would be, personally, now, for me, I'd be less, I did actually trade that. So that's why I'm here marking this, because that was a trade I took this week. But I only got, I think I got 200 out of that. And then as we came back here, I did not take these. I didn't like the look of it. It looks like it was threatening the IB high. Since at this point in time, we've not had a challenge. The IB high and low are set, but we've not had a challenge to either side. So I was kind of watching here, just kind of waiting, because this chop is, it's a little bit of a crapshoot as to what you're going to get here. We're tagging the 50 here, so here's the midline of the IB. So the market is there's lack of clarity here. Is there a setup here? Well, this would not be ideal, right? I wouldn't mind it down here, but again, remember the trend is down. So as we pull up, okay, so let's stop right there. So as we pull up here, remember this is all wick, so the up before the down is actually right here. All right, so if I draw it, there's the zone. Now that might be bigger than you're comfortable with if you're in a full-size contract. That's 24 ticks. That's probably more than most day traders are going to take. I mean, my max is 16. So if I'm taking that, I'm being very mindful of the fact that, one, I know I'm approaching the initial balance. Right now here I'm still in a downtrend, so this would be an area of interest, but you'd want to be just kind of careful up here. So there's the initial little reaction coming out of it here, not enough to really call it a flip, but you've got, you know, there's a decent trade right there, right? Oh, what did we get right there? There's another 42 ticks. Trend is still down, right? That's kind of a individual, you know, traders got to make that choice. But it's a really nice example, because what have we done? We've left a supply zone down here. We've left a demand zone down here. Now we're working our way all the way back up to that supply zone here. Now this is the last reaction that you get, but that's again, it's a 42 tick move. And if you had drawn the zone, well, I mean, do I have it over here? I had it. Yeah, here it is. So I just I gave it to you over here where all the zones are highlighted. So this is what I mean. This is why I put it on wick, because you can have massive zones where it's just too big. It's doing more damage than help, because that doesn't help me to see a. What have I got here? Right, I've got a zone that's 70 ticks. Right, that's done to help me. But as I come up to this is actually a nice example of a flip. So we get the push, right? All the change of character. Now as we come back to it, now we're in the zone. That's 2 ticks off of the 50% of that zone. So you got to be, you know, you could be watching, maybe you're watching the DOM or you're watching a footprint chart. You're looking for some signs of aggressive selling. You get it. There's a 42 tick move. Now, I know in this day we end up going higher, but I'm going to pause the video here and we'll come back and we'll look at what the result of this. So stand by. Okay, so I've just fast forwarded a little bit into the day. So now it's just after noon on Tuesday. Push that off here. Oh, so a couple of things here to review. Here, let's go to the 1 minute. Okay, so this is what we were looking at before, and now we've had, with this break of structure here at the IB high, as it broke the IB high, now we get a trend change on the 1 minute with those breaks of structure. So we go from downtrend to uptrend. Now as we pivot up here, of course, we're going to leave, as the market has moved down, we leave behind these supply zones because we're getting a change of character and then a break of structure here. So we've gone from a short-term uptrend here to now we're in downtrend. And so a couple of things to note. This is an example of what you're going to have to wrestle with. During this upswing here, right, this is when the 1 minute changed to an uptrend, right? Well, trust me, it was an uptrend here with the breaks of structure. We still were in downtrends on the 15 and the 60. Well, now look at the 15. It's the same on the 60, but look at the 15. So this is the uptrend on the 1 minute. Where does it deliver us? Right to the supply zone. I mean, these are hard trades to take, right? That's $1,600 just off of that. Now, would you have taken that? Well, that's where you've got to make a distinction between, are you comfortable committing to the fact that 2 out of 3, so the 15 and the 60 are still in a downtrend, but I've had this raging rip up here in the 1 minute here, and really all it's doing, you can see what's happening, is going up here, tagging that supply zone. So just something to keep in mind, that's why you have to be looking at. So if you were not sure, was there an opportunity up here after it popped that? Well, you had this little pullback. I'm trying to be mindful of the fact that this is hindsight. But I'm trying to show you in the moment, you might not have taken that because you're looking at your 1 minute, and that's in a raging uptrend. But you're noting here that it's still downtrend here, and you've just popped a supply zone. Now here's the same thing on the 60. We're not up to any of these zones here, but we have just crossed the 50% here. So now we're in the premium zone here on the 60 minute. Well, look at the 60 minute. I mean, not to regress. We hit the demand zone here. That's what do we got there? That's 2,800 off of the demand zone. Now, note that's 2,800 off the demand zone in the midst of a downtrend. Right? I'm just trying to draw your attention to what you're going to have to wrestle with. Right? Ideally, if I can get them all in sync, that's preferred. But There's plenty of opportunities if you're comfortable doing some counter trend trading. And I'm just trying to bring your attention to those kind of questions you're going to have to wrestle with as the market's hitting those areas of interest. So I'll stay with the 1 minute here for some examples, since we know we still have downtrend in the 60 and the 15. Well, so here, if I open this up a little bit, now I'm using the one where it's highlighting the entire zone here, so obviously, right, very fat down here. But I want you to see we've got this nice fat zone here. So now the trend is down on the 1 minute because of this break of structure followed by this break of structure. So we're back in a downtrend. So if this retraces now back, well, here's the 50%. So if we get into that premium zone, this would be an area of interest. Target would be the low here. Right, just as we described it in that work. So a retrace into premium, into a supply zone. Target is the week low. Well, let's bring it over here and see how it goes. 20. Hopefully, is not too fast, too slow. Well, there we're tagging this. Well, you're a tick in front of that here at a golden zone here. So we get a little retrace. We don't quite make the 50. I gotta go. Maybe I'll go to 30 here, so we don't have to sit for too long. There's the 200. It's tagging it as we tagged the 618, so that's a golden zone. You can see it off to the right. Now we're going to push a little bit higher, as I recall. Again, note the reaction at the 200. There's the week low. Breaks. So a good example. Okay, so as we come back here, we didn't get quite far enough, right? We didn't get quite far enough to get into this supply zone. Now, was there a trade there? Well, that's a little bit of hindsight trading. Interesting, though, to note, right? I continue to draw your attention to the 200. So if you missed that, well, you'd have been a little frustrated, perhaps. But again, if you're trying to be disciplined about waiting till we get supply zones, whether you're going to miss some, they're not all going to make it back there. So let me just play this forward, but there's no reason to be discouraged. I've got multiple supply zones here. If we're going to come back to it again, I'm still under the 200. Trend is still down. I'm getting a little bit of a reaction here off of this demand zone. Note it's still there because there has not been a close below it. That's just wick that goes through. So if we start to come back here, now there's my premium zone. Let's see. So we got just past the 618. So there's another swing to a golden zone. See if we get back to that zone. So there, as we touch the upper edge of it. Okay, so there's a pretty nice entry. So you got a golden zone here. You've got the 200 EMA right there. You've got a supply zone here, and you just tapped into it. Well, so what your target would be, if you're down here, your target is the week low. So there's a 59 tick target after just coming into a supply zone at a golden zone and the 200. Do you want to take that trade? Boom. All right, there's your target.